Guys, how's it going? I just got back from vacation in Japan, and I was in Japan for about a week. I was in Tokyo and Kyoto, which are two of the major cities in Japan. I didn't get to go to Osaka, didn't have enough time. But yeah, Japan was amazing. It was great. As a big lover of anime, as an otaku, yeah, just going to Akihabara and all those nice places, it's really nice. I recommend everyone go to Japan at least one time in their lifetime. But anyways, what I want to do is I want to do some comparison in this video because now I've been to Japan, I've been to China, and I'm living in Korea, so I can do some comparison of these three major East Asian countries. Because some people may have some questions about what is the difference between China and Korea and Japan really. And I've been to other countries like Eastern Europe, I've been to US and Canada, so I've been to quite a few countries so far. But for Asian countries, for many people that want to go to East Asian countries, yeah, China, Japan, and Korea are the three major ones. Of course, I haven't been to Thailand or Taiwan or Hong Kong or Singapore yet, and I plan to go to those countries sometime in the next 2 years. But for now, these three major countries, I'm going to do a comparison with some different factors, some different topics. First is if you're going to one of these three countries for the cost of living, which is the cheapest to live in? I'm going to say Japan is for sure the costliest. It's the most expensive. I think it's actually the most expensive Asian country to go to travel to. Japan is pretty expensive. A lot of things are more expensive than the US. Everything, basically electronics. And the food is fairly expensive as well, more expensive than other Asian countries. Basically everything is more expensive in Japan. It's about 20–30% more expensive than Korea on everything. And a lot of places are cash only, and I was a little bit shocked because I didn't expect Japan to be like a cash only country, because I thought, wow, it's an advanced country, and I thought they would take credit card, But even the hostels and everything were cash only, which is pretty surprising. Even McDonald's was cash only. So yeah, be wary of that. But yeah, everything, electronics, food, housing, services, everything's pretty expensive. In Japan, I would say the cheapest is China if you go to the smaller cities. That means not Beijing or not Shanghai, but the smaller cities in China like Hangzhou, maybe Suzhou, Nanjing, those still pretty big cities, but smaller cities than Beijing or Shanghai. Those cities will probably have lower cost of living, I think. So if you want the cheapest place to be an English teacher or whatever you want to be, I think going to a smaller city in China, a less well-known city, Wuhan would be a good one as well. Or if you even want even less well-known, go to Zhengzhou or to Shijiazhuang. Those cities, not many foreigners are in those smaller cities, and it's going to be really cheap. So I think the cost of living, the cheapest is going to be China out of the three. And then let's talk about food. So another topic is which Asian country has the best food out of the three? Let's see. Japan mostly has really good seafood and like sushi and sashimi, and they have really good noodles like ramen and yakisoba and udon. And also they have other stuff like yakiniku, they have teriyaki, they have shabu shabu. For me, I don't really eat a lot of seafood, so I mostly eat the noodles. But if you like seafood, then Japan's pretty much a place to go. Korea has mostly spicy food, so pork or chicken is pretty common. You have like some really spicy chicken in Korea, and then you have like gochujang on a lot of stuff. Kimchi obviously is spicy, and that's a major food in Korea. A lot of the stews and stuff in Korea is spicy as well. So if you like spicy food, then Korea is the place to go. And I would say they don't have that many vegetable dishes. They have a lot of meat dishes. So if you like spicy meat, then Korea is the place to go. China is hard to say because it's a really big country, and they have so many different cuisines, and they all differ. Like northeastern China has different cuisine than like Hunan, which is different than Sichuan, which is different than Shanghai, which is different than Guangzhou and Guangdong. So it's really hard to generalize China. So I'm just gonna say, in general, China has a lot of oily foods, and that may be a good or a bad thing. I mean, oily food is delicious, but if not so good for your health, I guess, for your cholesterol. So yeah, China has a lot of oily foods, but it has a lot of tasty foods. So and it has a lot of varieties of foods, and there's non-oily foods too. So yeah, if you go to China, I would say China has the most variety of food, and I would say in general, I say Chinese food is the best because it has the most variety. All right, and for technology, out of the three countries, Japan has the best technology by far. When I went there, it had like amazing technology. Like obviously, some people know that Japanese toilets are really, really advanced, and they have like a built-in washer basically and heater and stuff. So you don't need to have a, well, they'd have a bidet as well, but they have like a built-in bidet basically to wash your areas, and in addition to all the other mechanisms and stuff that'll help you. So yeah, that's pretty advanced. The cabs there, the taxis have doors that automatically open and automatically close, which is awesome. They have a ton of vending machines, and they have automatic like food vending machines. So instead of ordering food, you actually go to a vending machine, you put in your cash, you get the ticket, and then you basically give it to someone who makes it. So it's almost like an automated thing. Almost automated. It kind of reminds me of like an automat from back in the day, 1920s US. That's how old I am. And yeah, technology is great in Japan. The subway is amazing. They have even vending machines that will scan your face and then tell you, like depending on your face, I guess they can tell what mood you're in and then suggest you a drink based on that. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, Japan in general, and of course the robots and stuff are the most advanced in Japan. So I think Japan is the best technology, high-tech stuff in general. And then Korea after that. Korea has really good technology too, especially fast internet. Korea has the fastest internet in the world. But overall, talking about the other stuff, is not quite as the same level as Japan. A little bit below Japan, but not by a lot. I think Korea still has really good technology. China, I would say outside of Beijing and Shanghai, outside of those big cities, is lagging behind in technology, behind Japan and Korea. For example, they just recently got LTE. For the phones, China didn't even have 3G on phones because they were behind. So the time it took to implement 3G, they just implemented 4G and LTE instead. So there was never a 3G penetration in China. They just went straight to LTE. Even then, not like all carriers and stuff have it really. It depends on which carriers you have, and in general, it's just a pain. And to visit different websites in China, you might need a VPN to access certain foreign websites, so it's just really annoying in general to access stuff in China. So yeah, definitely the winner for technology is Japan. Alright, and for tourism, which country is the best? So if you're a traveler, you're a tourist, you're looking to travel either Japan, Korea, or China just for the sightseeing and everything, which country do I think is best for that? Well, I think there's a clear winner here. I mean, Japan has Kyoto, Japan has Okinawa, and they have a lot of great temples and shrines in their country. And Korea has Jeju, they have Gyeongju, they have Gangwon-do. They have a lot of nice places as well, but really nothing beats mainland China just because China has the most land. And because they have the most land and the richest history out of the three, they have the most sightseeing places for the three. Right, you have Beijing and Xi'an, which are the main historic places in China, which are the old capitals of China, also Nanjing as well. Those are the three of the old capitals of China that you can go see. In addition to that, there's a lot of great natural beauty and natural scenery in China, like the canals of Suzhou and Wuzhen, and then you have the mountains of southern China, like Guilin, and you have Yunnan, and you have Huangshan, and you have like so many different places in China, the mountains of Tibet, and you know, Himalayas, and there's just, China has such a wide variety of beautiful places. And when I went there, I still think China was the most naturally beautiful place on earth, just because they have so much. Like their history is so rich. They have so many places to visit, and just southern China alone, I think, just takes the cake for having like the most beautiful natural scenery. All the mountains, rivers, lakes, all those things is amazing. They do have a lot of temples and shrines too. Of course, you know, China isn't as friendly to tourists as Korea or Japan is, you know, but like I definitely think that China is worth visiting just for the natural scenery alone. So I think in that category, China wins. So yeah, I think, yeah, Japan and Korea, I mean, no offense to them, they have great places, but nothing really compares to mainland China for the amount of places that you can visit and explore. And of course, the Great Wall of China, you know, that's a major attraction as well. There's many things in China that, so. And yeah, next one, if you want to be if you want to go to one of these countries to teach English or just to travel as a foreigner, I'm assuming you speak English because you're watching my video. Which one of these three countries uses the most English and is the most friendly to foreigners? And I would say Korea is. Korea uses the most English out of the three. If you listen to any K-pop videos, they always have at least a few English words in there, and that's because this country is crazy about English. Koreans are crazy about English, and they're always constantly trying to study English. So that means that there is a lot of opportunities for foreigners to teach English here, even under the table. And even if you don't have like a teaching certificate, you can still tutor English here. There's a lot of English, a lot of Korean words that sound like English, which is Konglish. Like coffee, for example, is kopi. It sounds very, very similar, and burger is just burger, right? And compare this with Chinese, and burger in Chinese is hanbao, right? Like it's something pretty different, right? In like tomato, for example, tomato in Korean is tomato. It's fairly similar. In Chinese, it's 西红柿. Like who's gonna know that, right? If you go to China, so definitely Korea is the best place for foreigners because there's a lot of people that, well, I wouldn't say they're fluent in English, but they can definitely speak English better than Japanese and Chinese people. Japan has a bit of English, but not that much, and most places it's Japanese only, and most Japanese people can't really speak English. China is the worst out of the three. Chinese people don't know a lick of English at all. This is because they don't really need to have English for their jobs, whereas in Korea, you do need to have English for some of the jobs here, which means that people here generally study more English than Chinese people. And yeah, everything's in Chinese characters, so it's going to be harder to read them. And Korean characters are fairly easy to learn, I think. So the winner is Korea for English speaking. Okay, so let's go to nightlife. Korea has the most 24-hour establishments out of the three, I find, and also the most cafes. So if you like cafes, if you like clubs and all-night drinking that goes until like 6 a.m. in the morning, then Seoul is definitely the best. I think Seoul in general is the best place for this kind of nightlife, and definitely Koreans love to drink the most. I think out of the three countries, Koreans drink the most probably, like soju, or they mix soju with a bunch of other drinks and makgeolli, and they drink all night for that. Japan has 24-hour places too, but somewhat less than Korea, and not as much of the drinking. China doesn't really have that much nightlife. The clubs wasn't even there until very recently, thanks to communism. So it's still developing. That said, I think Shanghai has pretty good nightlife, but the winner for me is going to be Seoul still. So the winner is Korea for nightlife. So that's my opinion on that. All right, and lastly, I want to talk about the women. So some foreigners, maybe a lot of foreigner guys, come to Asia to get Asian girls, and because they have yellow fever. Which of the girls are the best? Korean girls, Japanese girls, Chinese girls? I already did a video on why I think Korean girls is better than Chinese girls, but that's just my opinion. I already made a video on that, on why I think that. You can check it out. But okay, I'm gonna do a comparison. Now that I've been to Japan, I've seen Japanese girls now. The comparison between the three. For absolute beauty, if you care about the most beautiful girl and you don't care about whether or not you don't care about makeup, you don't care about surgery, I think Korean girls is hands down the best. They love to dress up. Like, they dress up the most out of the three, I think, by far. They like show the most skin. They wear a lot of short skirts, short dresses, lots of makeup. In general, you can tell Korean girls because they love to show their legs, and they love to put on like lots of makeup, so their faces are always pale, and they have really red lipstick, and they do eyeliner, which, you know, other Asian girls don't do that much. So yeah, I think Korean girls dress up the most. So in terms of absolute beauty, I think Korean girls are the best. Japanese girls, more conservative. They don't show their legs as much as Korean girls do. They tend to cover up more skin. I see more girls wearing pants, long dresses, knee-length dresses. Even, I think the place with the most pretty Japanese girls would be in Shinjuku or Shibuya, but even then it's not really comparable to Seoul. It's not really comparable to the Gangnam. It's not comparable to Hongdae. So I think Japanese girls a little bit step below Korean girls in terms of that, but you know, this is just appearance only from what I've seen. Chinese girls, as I mentioned in my video, they prefer not to do anything to their appearance. They don't really do makeup. They don't really dress up that much. Of course, there are exceptions, but I'm talking about for the general case. You can even look at the Chinese tourists and stuff. Are they really dressed up? I don't think so. Out of the Chinese tourists I've seen, haven't really dressed up that much. And when I went to China, I went to Beijing, Shanghai, Nanjing. Shanghai girls probably the most dressed up, but also the most materialistic. And the other girls in the smaller cities like Nanjing or Suzhou or Hangzhou, not really dressed up, pretty conservative. And I'm not going to get into the natural beauty aspect, as Chinese girls like to talk about natural beauty. But you know what? All races have natural beauty. It's really how much extra attention you put into appearance. And yeah, I think Korean girls win for that. And yeah, you can find that actually the amount of girls wearing glasses is kind of correlated to how much they care about their appearance. Roughly, I would say about 60% of Chinese girls wear glasses because they don't really wear contacts or do LASIK surgery. Whereas 30% maybe of Japanese girls wearing glasses that I've seen in Tokyo, in Kyoto, and 10% of Korean girls wearing glasses. Korean girls definitely wear glasses the least because they usually do surgery or wear lenses instead. And behavior-wise, I think Japanese girls are the most kind and polite. My Japanese friend actually paid for basically everything when I met her. She paid for like the food, the spa, the hot spring basically, and the train ticket. Even my train ticket to Kyoto, she paid for that, which is amazing. I didn't expect that. I never had a woman pay like everything for me before. I've had Korean girls pay for dinner before, but I haven't had a girl pay for everything like Japanese girls do. So that's pretty amazing. Japanese girls more indirect when they're talking to you. They don't like to cause any conflicts and stuff, so they're very indirect about things. Chinese girls are the opposite. They're very, very blunt and direct when they're talking about you. So if you like girls that are very straightforward, then Chinese girls are very straightforward. Japanese girls, not so straightforward. And Korean girls, kind of in the middle. And I think Koreans and Japanese definitely have better manners than Chinese people. But yeah, that's just from what I've seen. My experiences in these three countries. And I'm going to do a video comparing Korea and Japan so you can see for yourself the difference. And I will visit Taiwan next after this so I can do a comparison of Taiwanese girls too. And I'm going to go to China after that so I can retake some video in China, which I didn't get to do before, and do some more comparisons. So yeah, that is my topic about comparison between China, Korea, and Japan.